Okay, this has been rearranged a bit. I'm gonna have to play around with my stuff here just a minute to get it kind of lined up correctly. It's been a long while since I've done one of these. So yeah, this is live in case anybody wants to pop in and chat, but otherwise, this will just kind of be a nice stream to give you guys an idea of what it takes to create prosthetics for these Skylanders. So you guys have been asking me about how I make the tails or the arms or the weapons of these Skylanders that I change up a bit. Oh, we've got someone in here. Feel free to chat. I'll be keeping an eye on the chat. My computer's been kind of rearranged from where I had it before, so it'll be a bit harder for me to see the chat immediately. But if you have something to say, go ahead and say it. Anyway, I'm going to be starting off with a fairly simple one. Ooh, that's blurry. That's blurry. Let's see if I can fix that. I see if we can get that to focus. That's a lot blurrier than it was before. Here, let's try to bring it down just a bit. See if that helps. Not sure. Here we go. That might help. Oh, there we go. That should do it. Press that again. There we go. That's how you do it. Sorry, this camera is meant to film documents, but it works. It works. It's what I've got. Alrighty, so this hot dog has a very common problem. He's missing his tail. And the best way I find to fix that is with clay. Same with most of my customs. But this guy, he's also got a torn off ear here. So I'm going to have a little fun with giving him floppy ears. So to start, got to make this even. And I do this on a lot of Skylanders, but only typically Skylanders that are already damaged. I won't do this with good Skylanders. So, got my knife here. I'm going to move my thing up. Yeah, my parameters aren't working great, and unfortunately, I can't move my camera very much now. Okay, there we go. Let's see if we can get some more light in here, if that's going to wash it out too bad. I'd say that's good. Yeah, that's a good bit of light. Okay. We're going to go ahead and get this ear off here, because obviously, if I want to have matching ears, sometimes it's cute to have the one ear, but this is such a thin ear that if you were to have a dog have that ear flopped over, it wouldn't look very good. So the best thing here is to just take this completely off. I did this with Starcast a while back when he was missing only one of his stars, and some others I'll do this with. So with these X-Acto knives, you kind of want to be pretty careful. I've cut myself multiple times. It's very easy to do with this plastic. There you go. See how that popped? So always cut away from yourself. And I don't know how much I'm going to need to clean. I don't think I'm going to have to clean up too much, but I'm going to trim a little bit. See, it's got a little rise right there. Kind of slim it down to be closer to flush. I'm not going to worry too much about it because this is going to get covered up by clay here in just a minute. Okay. So there we've got our nice bald hot dog and no tail. Perfect canvas to work off of. So here's the first thing I should tell you guys, and I've advised some people on this before, and they've been confused because people assume that I'll make the clay pieces separately and then glue them on after the fact. That is not how you do it. In order to get these guys to have the prosthetics on securely, you have to bake the entire figure in the oven. There's no way around that. And it does come with a slight bit of risk of damaging the chip, but in the probably 30 plus Skylanders I put in the microwave, not one of them has come out with a damaged chip. They've all been fine. So I think the risk is pretty low as long as you follow the clay instructions that you're given, not to go too high on the temperature. Another thing, you can see I've got a lot of paint over here on my desk that I'm not cleaning off. Typically, when you're working with clay, you do want a clean surface, especially if you're using multicolored clay. But because I'm using plain white clay that I fully intend to paint over, I'm not worrying about the cleanliness of my clay. Little bits of cat hair and fuzzes will get in this clay, and that's just fine. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and sit him up. You guys are going to get the top view for the moment. And I'm just right now working this clay bit right here to get it nice and warm. nice and soft. This stuff is very crumbly when you first pull it out of the box. For the ear, we don't need a ton. So I'm just going to pinch off about that much right there. I'm going to set him aside for the moment and kind of work on the shape of the ear that I want. You want a good bit kind of near the base to have enough of the sticking room. I also want to completely cover that up. Now that's obviously going to be too big. I want fun little flopped ears for this guy. He's going to be a little puppy love Valentine doggo. So I'm just going to kind of work my clay here to get a shape. Now this particular part here where I'm doing a specific shape, all the specific shapes and whatnot, same as Play-Doh. There's different techniques for what you want to do. You can find a gazillion tutorial videos on all of that. For this, I'm just kind of winging it. Yeah, I kind of like that shape. So I'm going to go ahead. These knives are very handy doing clay work as well. So just kind of chop that off. This is going to be lower than where I'm gonna, maybe, I'm not actually. Doesn't look too bad right there. Yeah, I kind of like that. Okay, so at this point, I'm gonna start pressing it into the figure. Not too much, but enough to get it to stick. Clay actually does really well sticking to these figures. I'm really happy with how cooperative it is. Sometimes more so, sometimes less so. All right, here's a big thing though. So you can kind of see right here that there's this seam where it looks nice, but that doesn't have much grip. And what's going to happen is if I were to bake this as is, this ear would easily, you brush your hand against that and it's going to pull off because all the attachment is back here. So here's where we're going to pull out another tool. And these things you can find in all sorts of stores. They're very handy. All these little play tools, pretty cheap. I'm just going to grab, I'm going to use this little guy. Let's grab this pointed one. And what I'm doing here is I'm just going to kind of push the edges of the clay into the figure to give it more grip area. It's going to be tricky to see because of the flap of his ear. But all I'm doing here is giving the clay more points of contact, more security, and making it more stable for being handled after it's been baked. Once these have been baked, you cannot change its shape. The only way to do that is to cut pieces off. And it is also incredibly difficult. Learned this the hard way. Once clay has been baked, it does not stick anymore. So if I were to have baked this and then try to add like a little bow onto them, it would not stick. This clay would not stick well onto the hard clay. So I typically like to get all the clay work completely done and then bake it, not in stages. Plus, the more often you have this figure in the oven, the more likely you are to damage it. I could just lift this here up a little bit. Another thing to note, because when clay is cool, it can be kind of crumbly. If you are to let this cool down completely and then try to reposition it, it'll start to crack. So even here, I can feel a little stiffness there. It's kind of wanting to hold its shape. So my recommendation is to just be wary. Just be wary if you want to give this a try. I'm going to curl him down more because that's playing pretty nice. See. Kind of find that just right shape for the expression. I also kind of want to bear in mind what I'm creating that'll be difficult to paint. I think overall, though, this will paint pretty nicely. So yeah, there we got a cute little puppy ear. Looks good from the back. We got a little bit of a spot there, so I kind of just roll this to, I gotta get a new one of these, got glue stuck onto that. Kind of smooth it out. Kind of create a better gradient there. And there we go. Puppy ear. Doesn't look too pretty right now. Once it's painted, it'll hide the fact that this was ever not meant to be on the dog. Kind of line it up better. There we go. I kind of like it high. I like it high. Hi, ear. Okay, let's go ahead and make another one. Tricky part here now is creating a matching ear. So I'm going to more pay attention to the width right up here because that's what your eye is going to focus on first, as well as the thickness. I've got a pretty thick ear, so I'm going to want to get more clay in here. Oh, hi, guys. Good to see you guys. This is gonna be a puppy love hot dog. So he's gonna be another one of the Valentine themed ones. I'm gonna go with, I think, pinks and browns at this point. Maybe pink and black could be fun. I'm not fully settled on the colors. Definitely pink. I've got a bunch of pinks. Here, I can turn this over here. See if I tip it. But there you go. You can see all of those paints right back there. I'm just gonna lay this. Oh, hang on. This might actually work. I'm laying my camera down here. Kind of put something under it. See if that gives you a bit of a. There you go. That works. It's a very awkward positioning for my camera. Let me focus in a bit. See if it wants to focus better. There we go. Yeah, I wish they made more Valentine variants too. I really enjoy the Valentine guys. But hey, I'm here to make up the difference. So I've got 2 figures set aside specifically for Valentine's, maybe 3. I do have a flame slinger with a broken bow who would be very fitting to go ahead and add to the Valentine lineup as well. I'm going to take this little guy away while I kind of fit the ear onto him. Okay. See if I can do this without shaking the camera. See if you guys can get a good look without the light totally blinding it. Okay, it's kind of make it skinnier right here and kind of, there we go. That's about the look we want. They don't have to be perfectly even. That kind of gives that fun puppy ear look. And it always looks kind of weird when you first put it together. You're right, they didn't make a ton of, well, they did make a lot of chase variants, I'll say. Not a lot of each chase variant, but there's quite a few variants all in all, if you're being honest. And you got Roller Brawl's whole kind of love vampire joke theme. That's always fun. There we go. So what I was saying earlier, for those of you who missed it, is it's tempting to stop right here and leave it on, but you want to get down into this. Let's see if I can bring it down a bit. Yep, I'm totally bumping the camera. Oh well. Okay. Kind of push it down into him. There we go. And that'll give him a nice grip. Roll that. And I'm going to bring his puppy flaps down again. Perk his puppy ears. Kind of got a dent in it here, so soften that, make it round. Use my finger there. There we go. It's cute puppy dog look. Joke. Oh, okay. So with Rollerball, if you haven't looked into her backstory, her backstory is essentially Chaos fell in love with her. She's a vampire. The whole thing with vampires is that whole teen romance drama that's kind of been spurred on by Twilight, and then there's been like a Diary of a Vampire. I've never watched that, so I can't say specifically, but stuff like that, it's kind of become a cultural thing to associate vampires with love. And so Rollerball is kind of Skylander's joke on that, where she is this teenage vampire, but she's very independent and not super interested. Yeah, Monster High does it too. And then Chaos comes and falls in love with her, and she's just like, what? And when she rejects him, he captures her brothers and then continues to send her love notes attached to monsters meant to bring her in to him. It's a fun running gag within the niche areas of Skylanders. And then if you see Bone Bash Rollerball, who I've also got with a missing arm to play around with, I haven't quite decided what to do there fully. She would be a fun Valentine variant, minus the fact that she's already very pink. But one of her attacks is Spread the Love. And then her back arm that holds the boomerang. I can pull her out. This is not uncommon, so you can see there she's got her back arm missing. So a lot of things I can do with that to play around. Yeah. The Tomb Buggy also has some. Oh no, it's the Tomb Buggy that has Spread the Love. She's got the love bites and love kisses for her attacks. Yeah, those are fun. One of my favorite characters. Okay, let's do his tail here. I don't know, what kind of tail do you want with this guy? He's got a very pug look. We could do a curly tail. That'd be fun. I've done, so let me grab the ice one I did a while ago. So I've already done a very husky-like tail here with this, put him back here, this frigid hot dog. Nope, I'm not doing a fiery tail. So when I get a broken off piece like this, he doesn't have his tail. I make it new. I've got plenty of hot dogs who already have their fiery tail that I can just paint when I pull them out. But when I get a Skylander that is damaged, that is my opportunity and kind of challenge to create something new. So again, with this one, gave me a nice and big fluffy tail. Had fun with the ice look. The lights making him very glary because I got a lot of shiny paints on him. So that's kind of what I'm thinking. For this hot dog, though, I want a smaller tail on him. I've done, let's see, what have I done with hot dogs? I've done the 9 tails. Have I only done 2 hot dogs? I might have only done 2 hot dogs. I might have done, no, I've done a couple funny bones. I think this is my second, or only my third hot dog customization. So I'm going to kind of break off just a bit here and play around with it. Just play around with what I want. Sometimes I have a clear idea going in. Sometimes I've got a not as clear, but I think just a simpler doggo look kind of make it look like it's up, ready to wag. Just gonna kind of pinch it off here. Kind of look how that would look before I fully attach it. Not the best so far. What I'll probably do is give a little fuzzy look to it. Here, this light's got a pretty big glare. Just gonna do a little pinch here at the end. So I just pinched a bit of it. It kind of creates that little sharp angle there. You guys can see that all right. Gives it more of that 3-dimensional look. It's a little too sharp though. I'm thinking more of a dog that my cousins have that's got a nice, very simple tail, but it is very effectively happy puppy look. I'll start attaching this to his butt. Okay, so I kind of want a thinner, don't want it to be too thick here, so I'm going to thin down the base of it. Round that out a little better, actually. Oh, I think the rounded look does it all right. As long as it doesn't look like he's got a snake tail. Now we're going to grab this guy, and we're just going to, here, I'm going to pick up this again so that you can better see, because I have to pick him up a good bit. Pull it down this way. Here we go. Here we go. Okay, so now you can better see where I'm gonna get his tail. You got to be careful this is where it gets tricky, because you got to be careful where you set your hands. I usually like to set fingers on another part of the figure to secure my hands. Did I end up making more custom empty portals? Okay, so a couple things there, Portal Master. I do actually have this failed custom portal, so he's got a bronze. It's a bit too big for the camera there. You can see the yellow. I'm going to finish it. Gold is a stubborn paint to use, and it wasn't looking good. And I've got the 2 other ones that I did post. But the only reason I haven't done other portals, well, 2 reasons. One, they're big, they're time-consuming, and yeah, people aren't super interested. They like them fine. The black and purple one, that one did pretty well. But I need to make sure that they will sell well if I'm going to get more of those, because I can't have a bunch of those taking up my space. It depends. I've got at least 2, maybe this third one that I will try to sell via auction. And from there, Matt and I will gauge whether or not it's worth trying to do more portals. I'd love to do more. I've got great ideas for them. But then, yeah, storage factor. I don't want a bunch of portals that I can't make quickly and get out of here quickly, because I truly have a lot of Skylanders I need to finish. I am overflowing. I am out of room for any new broken Skylanders, and pretty much out of room. And this is from 3 times the amount of room of non-damaged Skylanders. I've got a lot of cool stuff, but I'm not going to be able to do these all the time and as frequently as I used to. So I can't be taking on any more unless I know for sure I'm going to be able to handle it. So for now, I want to get these 100 rescues done. And I have over 100, absolutely. But, getting 100 of them done and out there, that's a start. Starting with some Valentine variants. Goodness knows I've got quite a few hot dogs. There we go. Okay, so now I kind of want to make sure his tail looks nice from all angles. So if you were just looking like that, he looks pretty good. But you turn him over here and his tail's flopping this way. So I want to kind of gauge the right direction that makes sense from all angles if you are looking at this dog. Kind of make it feel like he's wagging this tail. Now, you probably aren't going to see me paint this unless you're willing to sit around while I run somewhere else and bake him. Oh, I'm not burnt out, trust me. I took a good break because I had school and some other projects, and I'm not just doing Skylanders these days. I'm jumping back into the Danganronpa community. That's a community I've been in before and quite enjoy. It's a special one, and I wouldn't recommend diving in unless you know what you're getting into. I'm not burnt out at all. Not at all. Don't worry about that. I've got a pretty good gauge, and if I feel like I'm burnt out, I'll stop. But I very much enjoy doing these guys, and that's where I make the call that, okay, probably shouldn't add on portals until I've got some more of these guys done, but once I feel like I can, I'll do that. Anything new with the Murder Drone series? I did write a fan fiction on it for a while. I need to go back onto that. I've been on hiatus for a couple months now, simply because holidays and all that, and I've just not picked it back up. Once I'm back in my rhythm, I'll be on that again. And I'll do a drawing with each of those chapters. So it's kind of a writing and drawing challenge for me, just to keep myself practicing those two things. So yes, I do still have plenty of Murder Drone stuff, but that's about as far as I'm going with it. I'm not going to make a bunch of clay Murder Drone figures. That was kind of a one and done thing, because where am I going to put a bunch of Murder Drone figures? They are not easy to ship. That's another thing about all these clay Skylanders, is that I'm going to have to be careful with the shipping. It's also why I'm not going to do a ton of them. Like, I'm going to do 20 of them and send those 20, not a full 30 or 40. Anyway, I'd say that's about it for this hot dog. Sometimes I'll add other things to them, but I think this one has got a good enough shape and it's versatile. So if I decide to pivot and do something different than just the puppy love one, how expensive is shipping? Good question. It all depends on how much it weighs. It can be as cheap as $3 and expensive as $20. Depends on international. This is why I go through SCL Matt, so that he can send internationally. Yeah, weight is what does it. Thankfully, that makes it easier with the bigger boxes, but clay is pretty heavy. So if I'm going to take my entire box here of clay, that's pretty darn heavy. And that's just this and then a bunch of glow-in-the-dark clay. So clay is heavy. Now, obviously, when you've got one little figure like this, it's not making much of a difference. But when you've got like the big old eyebrow and the Magna-Rise over there, it starts to add up. And I'm going to have to use a bigger package because I'm going to need a lot of bubble wrap for these guys, a lot of padding. They need to be secure in the box, so I can't have any empty space in the box at all. And so it all depends. I kind of just factor in shipping to an expense. FNAF custom when? I mean, I made a custom Lefty costume. Come on, is that not quite enough? Oh my. In all seriousness, I wouldn't mind doing that with some of the FNAF characters, but Depends if I got an audience for it, and not a bunch of Skylanders that I need to finish. Pokemon customs too, though. Skylanders. Redesign swap for characters. Yeah, I've got one over here. This is another rescue. So both this Magna Charge top half and Spy Rise bottom half were chewed up pretty badly by a dog. You might notice a running theme with a lot of these Skylanders. So this guy was missing like just a little stump of his leg here. This hand here was very chewed up. So I actually probably need to better paint the inside of this. Anyway, some of this, yeah, he had a bit chewing up here as well. So I added all of these prosthetics. You can see a bit of the chewing there, but I kind of just incorporated that into the beat up design. Gave him an extra patch here. This isn't covering up anything. This is just to kind of add to the design to make it feel like this was all meant to be one Skylander. Other halves were totally missing. Both of these halves were chewed up. So just made it into something new. There's a swapper. All right, thanks for stopping by, Top Hat. Got a show in 5 minutes? Nice. Yeah, we'll see how long I go. I've got, let's see, how long have I been going? I've only been going 25 minutes. I could probably do another one. The question is, see, the next couple I've got are much, much more intensive. This here, this is the simple part. Simple clay. They're light enough that they don't need any wiring. The other one that I got to do, he needs wire. Let me show you. Oh yeah, this one needs a lot of love. Oh, hi, Nick Nuck. You like the New Year's? Yeah, they do fit. Gives them a very happy puppy look. That's the goal. Okay. Dogs really like Skylanders, if you guys haven't noticed. This is definitely a dog. A cat couldn't have done that much, though. I've had cats chew on things they shouldn't before. Yep, that's what you get when you mix Skylanders and dogs. It's very, very common. I think probably about, honestly, 50% of the broken Skylanders I have are very clearly from dogs chewing on them. I don't know whose dog ate it, so, yeah, he did. That's good. That's a good one, Nick Nuck. Isa, I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing your name right, or Isa. Anyway, so all of these Skylanders, I get secondhand. People gather them, they just kind of pick them up in lots, and they come damaged. And then I will take them off of those sellers, and I will redesign them, repaint them, and then sell them. So this is one of them. I can show you one of the recent ones I've completed. Sodium. Oh, okay, perfect. No, I recognize Sodium. Nice. I recognize your name. Okay, here with the candy heart. Smolder Dash that everybody really likes, apparently. I'm not too surprised. It's a fun holiday. So what she had was a bit of chewing right here on these crown pieces. These two were intact. These ones were chewed off. And it had a little tiny bit of chewing on the fire, but the paint just kind of covers that up, so you don't have to worry about that. Little bit on her, tiny bits on her hair, like you can see. This is kind of a nub right there. So I cut off these last few, kind of cut them even, and then added the hearts. As simple as that. Well, not simple. This was a very delicate custom here, very delicate one. But again, puppy damage, fix it so that people like it again. I'm glad you love it. But yeah, that's what all of these are, basically. Just like eyebrows, wings. I'm not sure if those are puppy damage at all or not, probably. They were very, like, the wings were completely torn off. They weren't anything left. The splat could have been probably just as likely to be a kid because her head was torn off, and then the ends of her staffs were torn off. So she had just like a tiny little bit in her hand. That took a while to carve out. So I had to completely remake that staff. But all similar stories to these guys. Kids and dogs is what happens. Yeah, you can barely tell. I'm glad. Typically, if it's small enough damage, I'll be able to cover it up. Like, I don't know. Here with this, I might want to give him some little patches to create a new aesthetic that'll fit his theme. What I kind of want to do with this guy is a thread of fate. So what I'll get is a wire, not like my clay wire, but just a red loose cord wire, and use that like a thread and glue that to him. That way it can be moved around, pressed around, and you don't have to worry too much about it breaking, because when you get clay really thin, it is very, very, very fragile. So I'll probably use that. For now though, first steps first, I just gotta cut away the rest of these scissors. I'm gonna have to completely remake fancy new scissors. It's why I got this figure. I was gonna have fun with it, but this is the challenging part, removing what remains. So I'm just gonna kind of come down under here and just work it back and forth. Back and forth is the best way to go when cutting the plastic. So there we go, that's out there. And here, gonna go hold him securely. I'm not gonna worry about getting right up against his hand just yet. Just get the main thing out of the way so I've got more accessibility. Thankfully, this clear stuff cuts really smoothly, really easy. It's not too much of a pain. They use different kinds of plastics on different Skylanders, different parts. And so, ooh, he's got another attachment point. There we go. Tear that off. There we go. No scissors. Viager? I don't know what that is. It's a very funny pose without the scissors. What the heck is he doing? And then I'll kind of have this as a nice reference for how to hold them. Okay, so there's that. This will probably end up just getting thrown away, unfortunately. One thing I could do is League of Legends champ. Oh, okay. I've not played League of Legends before. You're right, he does look like he's doing a little dance. I could give him, honestly, a couple maracas, and it would be a very believable pose. Okay. Yeah, I do have a couple options, actually. I could try to trim off all of this and then recreate the tips of the scissors. So I'm not going to throw it away entirely yet, but I think for now, I'm just going to try to recreate some things. Yeah, ready to fight. That could work, too. I think he's too happy to be ready to fight, unfortunately. I think the maracas are the best option for that. Up here, I'm just going to go ahead and pick off these little pieces there. Messy up there. Okay, so with this guy, he's gonna need, I do want to make new scissors because I had an idea for him that I want to go through with, and it's gonna require wire work. And this is what you get when you've got bigger figures. So with the eyebrow, I showed the pictures of the wire wings and then the clay wings. That is required for anything that's gonna have enough weight for the clay to weigh itself down. With clay, it's not going to show from there. There we go. Pull this down. Okay. With clay, you got to gauge how much it can hold. From about there, it's going to hold up just fine. It might wilt a little bit in the oven, probably a little bit. Yeah, it might need a little wire there. Down back here, it's going to wilt a lot. Rolling it, and it's just going to keep wilting. So that's why we make clay or wire armatures in any bigger clay project. Get this rearranged and zoned in. There we go. Nope, making big scissors. This is kind of part of the fun for me. I like the challenge. I'm not going for simple. I'm going for new, just new and fun. And for this guy, I want to really play with that thread of fate idea with soulmate kind of thing. It's another. I'm not big on romance, but it is a very common romance trope to have some sort of thread of fate. Here's a nice malleable wire. Bends very nicely, very cooperative for me. I'm just gonna get my wire cutters out. A pair of wire cutters. kind of gauge. Let's see. Kind of use these guys as reference. He's got very small handles on these, I realized. Very big blades, very small handles. Looking at the way he had these. I'm going to have to make this in 2 parts to get that twin blade look and the 2 flat sides to it. That'll be interesting. What's Thread of Fate? So I don't have any specific romances in mind. It's kind of a trope. This is my favorite Trapmaster. Shortcut is my favorite Trapmaster. That's always been my favorite Trapmaster. Thread of Fate is basically, I don't even know. It's like this idea of soulmates being connected by a magical thread, I guess. It's more of an expression and sometimes a trope, like a literal thread between people. I'm not entirely sure how to fully describe that, actually, because I've not cared to dig too much into it. But it also ties back into the Greek mythology of the 3 fates who weave out your life and then cut the thread at the end of your life. The thread tying different people together. That's kind of the idea of it. Okay, let's... Small handles, okay. Long blades, bring it up here. Just set the rest of that aside for now. So for these loops, let's take a look. What I want to grab, you do want wire work tools when doing wire. Go figure. But I'm gonna steal something wider for these handles. Because I'm gonna need. You think you don't mean? Okay, good. Yeah. Just looking for a good size. Here we go. This will do it. Use my super glue bottle. I'm going to kind of use the end of this and wrap my wire around it to create a decent loop. I don't need it to be perfect. I just need it to hold its shape well enough to translate into a scissor. And this wire, again, will wilt itself if you put too much weight on it. But I think I'm going to go for thinner. So these are very, very thick. I think I'm going to go for a more elegant looking blade on these guys. And actually a bit of a wider handle, frankly. I'm going to need to cut out these guys, but I'll probably leave that off for a little bit and worry about making the right shape on this guy. The way they do this is pretty accurate to real scissors. Okay, I'm going to need a heck of a lot more clay for this project, so I'm going to get a bunch more out. Get a whole lot of this. Putting more cables, more wire. So wire, not a cable. And yes, you can add more wire to give it more structure. That is absolutely what you do. Typically, I will also just use a thicker gauge of wire. So for that, let's see. I probably used this on Eyebrow's wings. So I've got this very thick wire here. You can see the difference right there. This is raw copper wire. Actually, this is what kind of wiring is used within your house. My brother is a lineman, so he gets scraps of this and I can use. And this is pure copper, basically. And so it's very bendable, but not to a micro level. So you'll get getting small detail is a pain. So you kind of want to build your wire armatures based on what level you're working at. I think for these scissors, I might have to do another wrap around this guy to give it a bit more stability, but this is holding up pretty well. I think it'll be okay. I think this will do just fine. So right now I'm just working this chunk of clay. And I'm gonna squash this guy into it. Kind of think how I want to make this. The most complex thing, it's hard to say, to think through all that I've done. Still, frankly, honestly, the 2 supercharged customs I've done, and those were some of the earliest ones I did. So the tomb buggy, I completely took off. This was actually a new tomb buggy. It wasn't a damaged one. I completely removed its wheels and made the supercharged partner wheels. So the ones that look like rollerball skates. I made those by hand out of clay. And oh boy, was that a project. That was a very challenging clay project. And then I also did the sea shadow. I did the what you call it? The anglerfish light bulbs on the back of it. Those were a lot of fun to make, and I actually weren't too hard, but I also made the fins and the jaw, and those were definitely more involved. So I'd say those 2 vehicles were frankly the most complicated. A lot of these other ones, they're small enough that they aren't too complicated. They're time consuming, but they aren't too complicated. Even the big wings on Eyebrow, I love doing wings, and they're pretty simple wings, frankly, all things considered. Yeah, you like the idea of the vehicles? I need to do more of those once I get all of these customs done. Okay, I'm actually going to work on the blade here first. So I've got a good shape here. Yeah. Actually, I want a bit of a better taper, I think. Now it's going to widen up. Okay, so with scissors, what you've got is this flat side and then a raised side. So I'm just going to use my table here, and I'm just going to start pressing down to create that flat side. I'm not going to be too worried about making a nice smooth surface just yet. Ooh, yeah, I like that. I like that. And this is giving me about the shape that I want to. I want a little more down here. So kind of squish it forward, and that'll widen that up right there. And all of this I'll smooth much nicer here in a minute. There we go. Start smoothing that. You can see that nice point. Yeah, the light does create a nice shadow for you there. Rusty scissors, no. These are going to be nice golden scissors. Very majestic and elegant. That's again, Valentine variant. Alrighty, I'm going to take a tool. Just kind of start to smooth out. Here we go. Actually want to get more of a... That's pretty good. And that's a good... Yeah, that's going to hit the right length. Skinnier than the others. So I'm going to even out that. Actually, whoop. This is all just shaping. Just shaping. Okay. Bring that a little sharper. It's definitely lumps down here. So start shaping that. Back my nail there. And what I'll probably do here in a bit, so I want to give a little more width right over in here. A little more width in here. Smooth that down. And this is where it can be just time consuming. It's just where you're taking your time, getting what you want it to look like. Clay moves little bit by little bit. You don't want to move too much at once, otherwise you get big lumps that you don't like. Back and forth until... Yeah. Oh yeah, that's always fun. Dinkosity. I mean, hey, it's very straightforward for the kids. The kids do love that kind of wording. Okay. At this point, what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my scalpel and I'm going to trim off so that this gets into a beautiful clean edge. Whoop. Okay, so that's got a decent look to it. Start to Take it in there. Here's where I need to get the wire inside of here. So what I'm actually going to do with this case, depending on what I'm working on, I will build the clay around the wire, or I will build the form and then bring the wire into it. For this one, with its nice flat surface here, I'm going to cut a slit into it. And it's definitely going to mess with it, so I'm going to have to reshape other parts of it. And rearrange that, kind of pull this apart a little bit. So opening it up. And I'm going to want this to go pretty far into the tip, because the tip here is nice and thin. So that's going to want to wilt itself. And I'm going to continue to on in this rounded part that's not been shaped yet. I'm just going to keep going all the way there, because I'm going to build that into the handle. There we go. There you go. Cut open. No longer quite as pretty. But this is where magic happens. There we go. Take this and kind of just push it in there. Use the blunt end of this. It'll work a bit better. Get it down in there and start to pinch it back closed. And now, when I hold this, look at that. It doesn't wilt. So I'm going to reseal this using my pieces here. Bring the clay back together. And then, yeah, I'm going to have to reform this again, but it'll form pretty quickly. That's just a part of the process. You make something, you destroy it, you make it again. That is just a part of it. Whoop, that blade fell off. Pull that out. So if you don't have the patience, for any future viewers who are looking at this, to do custom Skylanders, don't do this unless you have the patience to mess up and restart. That is a part of art. And that is a big part of custom work. Okay, there we go. So let's go ahead and brush that all nice and neat. Hide that seal. And even if the wire shows a little bit through this, once this is painted, it really won't show at all. So we'll be all good then. Okay, and typically this will also stretch out the clay a good bit. So I'm going to kind of push it back down into shape. And then got this bulge up here now that I'll have to trim down again. But it'll trim much nicer now that I have wire to hold that form. So the wire ends right about there. So I'm going to pinch this here. Don't need that clay. And let that come into a point. Nice little point. Push down to the ground. Get that form back. And this is very similar to how I made the Star Cast custom. Very similar process. Well, hi, kitty. That's what happens when I talk to my computer. The cats are like, who is getting attention while I am sitting over here bored? Hey, pretty girl. There we go. Oh, hi, Retro. Good to see you back. New stream. Yep, and you're not too late. I was planning on letting this go for quite a while. And hey, it's only been 48 minutes. By stream standards, that's nothing. That's nothing. Yeah, it's a mix of all the above. It is. Professional videos like to show just the pretty come together, satisfying stuff, but no, this is the raw, actually what happens when you're doing clay work unprofessionally. Oh boy. Trim that up a little better. There we go. Get this tip just right. which will probably mess up again and remake again, and that is a-okay. Too thin of a tip also breaks off super easy, so I don't want to risk that too bad. Don't want to deviate too far from the... Oh, look at the taper right there. So I'm playing with the taper going up and down as well as... So you'll see a beautiful taper here, but the taper up here is kind of like there. Like, doop. And I don't want that. I want a nice, clean look to it, the whole thing. And I've got a dent in there, so I'm going to grab this and attempt to smooth it out. Sometimes this creates more dents than it fixes. No, yep, not that one. See if you will cooperate with me. A little bit. Nope. Just... There we go. Decent enough. I'm gonna take the blade, and actually this time I'm just gonna kind of push it into each other rather than trim off anymore because I don't want this any thinner at this point. The unpleasant scratching sounds. Yeah, that'll do for the moment. Turn it. Fun trick. Use the table to make it nice and flat. Turn it. Flat, flat, flat. Yeah, you can see the wobbliness right there on the taper, but, you know, it's decent. And again, a lot of these details, once it's painted, kind of hide themselves. I've got plenty of cheats just by default of paint and the thing as a whole, hiding the smaller stuff. But this here on the side, that needs to get much cleaner. There we go. Flip that over. Clean up this side. It's a pretty clean side, actually. Catch up with chat. Let's see here. New cat. Not a new cat. This is my cat I've had for the last 10 years. Come here, pretty girl. Oh my goodness. Hi. Are you jealous? Am I talking to somebody who isn't you? Come here. Come here. Let go. Come say hi. There she is. Look at it. She's looking at the camera. That's my girl. Oh, old cat thinks I'm talking. Yeah, she does. Jealous of any animal. I'm surprised. The younger one, oh, he's asleep. That's why. So I've got a 1.5-year-old cat who came up into my lap very start of stream, but I gave him lots of attention pre-stream, so he's pretty content. He's over sleeping nearby. Alrighty. Yes, I think I'm caught up on chat. Okay. Let's bring this. I made a mistake. My loop's way down here. I need my loop to be way up here. So I'm not going to push this up because that will stretch out my blade, and I don't want that. So instead, I'm just going to undo this. No big deal. And I'm going to come around. Actually, I'm going to go ahead and pinch right here. So you notice with these, they've got very angled there, and I'm okay with that, actually. I don't mind that look of just having this pinched arrowhead to it. So I'm going to do that there. I'm going to trim it off here, and I will then form... Here's another thing that'll happen that on wire. This will twist. So that's something you want to watch out for. It's going to bring it down here as well. Oh, and now I've got cat hair in my clay. Lovely. Free cat hair with all my customs. Trust me. There we go. Roll that to separate it visually. Got a definite curve there that I don't want. Okay, there we go. Decent enough blade for the moment. And again, I'll keep touching this up as I go. But right now I need to work on the gross shape to this, which just means the big shape to it before I start adding smaller details and making sure everything is really well lined up, because I'm going to be handling this a lot, that if I keep fussing with the tiny details, they're just going to get messed up all over again. So I'm not going to worry about that at this point. I'm going to go ahead and bend this. Let's see. I'm going to have these cross right at about this point. So they're going to cross right there. Thinking on the shape of this. Yeah, I'm going to want to add more of a up here than down. Yeah, I'm going to want to change that up. But I think I've got enough of a handle here to go ahead and bend sharply. Don't turn. Doop. Right about there. And go ahead, use this. Whoop. Gonna poke itself. There we go. There, we've got a nice loop. Again, the wire itself doesn't have to be perfect and pretty because it'll be completely covered by clay. And that, I also do want to bear in mind, okay, so for his hands, once I get this all trimmed out, this will go very nicely into here. It's not going to go as nicely into here, so I'm going to want to bear that in mind. Let's go ahead and trim off the extra on this guy. There we go. I'm going to make these loops a little wider. Yeah, I'm going to make this a bit bigger. Create a sharper angle there. Yeah, that's a good size. And that's got enough stability to hold where I want it. Plenty of stability for this guy. And I'm going to make these two halves of the scissors completely separately, and then I'll just kind of set them onto each other, and it'll look like they were meant to go to each other. Now, this is very, very long, possibly longer than I want. So yeah, this is definitely longer than I want, so I'm going to start pulling at it here. So pulling at it there, and it's going to elongate, but keep its taper. And you can see there stuff's starting to wilt here at the tip. So keep pulling. There we go. There's a piece off. Elongate. Pulling a bit too much down here that I don't pull. Pull. Right about there. That's a better size. That's a better size. Lay them down a little bit for you guys. So just holding it about there. Still very, very long, but not too long that it's going to look imbalanced. Squish this down a bit. Push you down here to get that better look to it. And I actually want to go ahead and start with the handle. Let's start with the handle. So the handle, I'm actually going to do this. I'm going to roll out. I'm going to basically sandwich this wire. So I'm going to roll out something underneath of it. And I'm going to put this on top. And then I'm going to add something on top of it with this one. Oftentimes, I will create a wrap. So I'll create a very flat piece. And then I will wrap it around this and cut it off. But I want this to be thick enough to add some design detail to. And I also want to add a little off piece right here that you'll see in a lot of fancy sewing scissors. So I'm going to give it some thickness that later I'll come in with. You see these have little round pieces. I'll use that to create some detailing to make them look fancy. Value increased by 400 per strand of cat hair. Oh, I wish. Oh boy. So let's see here. It's more than enough in length. Now I'm gonna kind of actually squish this down. Create width. I'm not too worried about depth at this moment because I'm going to add another one of these. And this should be long enough to cover both sides. Uneven here. Oh, you can't see that. There we go. So uneven looking here, not worrying about that. We are gonna go ahead though and trim off the very wonky ends. There we go. Cut that about in half. That might be too short. Just lengthen it a bit. Alrighty. You're gonna tap that down there. Kind of find the rounded look. Oh, this is plenty big. Okay. Let's bring that. It's starting to get pulled. So you can see it's getting skinny right in here. It's because it's getting pulled. There we go. Start getting it in there. I'll come back in and hollow that out nice and pretty. Right now I just want to get it covered. I don't think this is enough, so I'm probably going to go with a wrap around this even. Yeah, I gotta need more than that. Just kind of cover up the wire for the moment. So I've got all attachment space. Here's a fair warning. Anybody else want to try their hand at this? Do not expect the clay to stick to the wire. You have to build the clay around the wire, ready for it to want to slide right off of the wire. They don't meld well. And you have to just learn how to get around that. If it's by scoring the wire itself or by creating wraps around the wire to give more of a grip, that's just a thing you got to figure out with these guys. It's a decent enough ring look shape to it. I'm looking at the gross shape, not the details. It's a very messy ring shape. I don't think it's quite wide enough for the detailing I want, but I don't know if I'm going to get away with any. Oh, yeah, no, I might have to actually shrink that because, okay, looking at his hands here, he's only got so much room. However, I bring it down. So if he's holding this part of the scissors, no, that's not going to work though because these guys have to hold. Yeah, I got to think about that because he's holding the loops here. And the loops are very close to touching each other. You can see right there. So I kind of got to plan out how I'm gonna position those guys. Now what I can do very easily is put a ring so he's holding the inside. So that's probably what I'm actually gonna do. I'm gonna have him not on that side because that's gonna cover his face a bit too much. On this one, I'm gonna have him hold the inside of the scissors, and that'll let these be bigger without them touching each other quite yet. And this will have a little bit more right in there. So that'll be close. It'll take some finagling for sure. Let's go ahead and make the other blade. I gotta make an equal one. And from there, I'll start playing around more finely on how to get them to look and then get the finer detail. Again, this here is a very complicated clay job, and I might not finish it here on camera. We'll see. But this is giving you a look at the wire process, and that was what I was hoping to do. So if you were wanting to keep things simple, there you go. You got a very effective clay piece there. Gonna need more clay. Squash that all in. I need to go ahead and pull my next round of wire. I'm just going to go ahead and shape it around this. I'm going to do that fast. What's more complicated to make, scissors or wings? We'll find out. Let the wire go. Don't need to be all the way to the tip, so right about there. Cut that off. Yep. These aren't great wire cutters. My That's a messy cut, but oh well. Wire gets curved, straighten it out. Most craft wire is designed to be nice and flexible and cooperative. So if you are going to the craft store to get wire, you're most likely going to get good wire. This guy, get that end curled. Keep these guys about the same. But again, I might have to close the gap on this guy and make it smaller after all. I want it bigger because that gives me more surface area for detailing. Come with the tips here and then the painting. But it might not be cooperative with that. Grab a drink. Okay, next step. Pretty much same process repeated. This time, actually, to give more variety to this stream. So I showed the trick of slicing open and putting it in, and I showed sandwiching. I'm going to go ahead and just show, this is what I will typically do for any staff, any round thing. I'll go ahead and do that, and then I'll take it off and do it for this bladed part. So I'll roll out, I don't need that much for this, roll out the clay to a nice long worm. I'm not going to fuss with being perfect on this since this is just an example. Honestly, barely need any of that. Okay, then I'm going to take one of my flat surface. I'm going to roll it out like this. Nice and thin. This is what I did with Ambush's staff and what I did with the handle part of the splat I did not long ago. Take those guys off. And I'll take this nice noodle here and I'll take it around here and go around this. Usually I'll get that thicker gauged wire for it. And so it'll have a much thicker thing to wrap around. But then you've got a nice cleanly wrap. Now I'll trim off excess, make it nice and smooth. This thin wire is not a great one for it. This is if I'm doing like a little tiny spear here. And that, again, it'll pull right off. But that's how you do that trick. Maybe in the future I'll give a better example of how to do it. Again, if I'm doing something like that, it's typically a long weapon that I want a good handle on. And so I will do this here, which already has about the perfect girth to go into a Skylander's hand once you have the clay around it. And let me fix up my camera positioning. Alrighty, now let's actually make that other blade. This one, okay. Yeah, depending on where I position these, I'll pick which one I like better, which side I like to show better. I'm not going to detail, well, no, if I'm putting it over here, it's going to show pretty big. Yeah, I got to kind of consider how much detailing to put and how much is accessible and visible. We'll see. It's a wonky blade right now. Fix him up later. Okay. It's gonna need a lot of clay in this guy. A lot of clay. So angle it. It's kind of a pointed worm. There we go. Pointed worm. Way bigger than this guy. Oh. And there you go. Way bigger than this guy here, but that is by design. I want him much skinnier, actually, because once I start flattening him out, he will gain some width to him. And a lot of this tip here will probably be eaten away as it goes along. Start pinching it. And there you go. Fattens right back up. This guy's very cooperative. Look there. It's got a great taper to it already. Yeah, sometimes the clay does what you want right away. Sometimes it takes its time. Patience is key with this stuff. These customs can take anywhere from 1 hour of a undamaged figure to a finished. Honestly, if I were painting this guy, from clay to finish, probably only 2 hours on him. Others of these, they take 12 hours. Goodness knows that chain reaction did. But I love it all. I love it all. All depends on how far you're willing to go. And I like to take these till they seem like they are where they need to be. I'll roll that down. Need a bit more height back here, so I'm going to push some clay back up into here. Kind of counter reform that all in there. Squash it in. Beat it back down. Pinch it back up. And that's a bit better. This about here is where it's going to be arrowed off. Bring that to the other end, and let's slice it open. Yeah, that one was very, very, very detailed. And it's not just the detailing, it's all the little nooks and crannies. So when you're doing the base coats, you need to get in all of those angles, all of those gaps. And that is what took so long. And I used a light base coat with most of them. The brown was a lot more cooperative, but the white will show the colors under it unless you have a solid 3 layers. And if you have uneven layers, it will show. So you have to be careful with your usage of white and very patient with white. And that was something that took a long while with his frosting beard. Very uneven here. You guys probably can't see it. The lighting is bringing this up a bit. You can see, let's focus in. Oh, there we go. There you go. You can see all the little hairs and stuff right in there. That is a part of my workspace. But if you are working with colored clays and you aren't intending to paint them, do take the time to wash your area. Keep your cats out of your work area. Make sure you're not wearing fuzzy clothes that are going to leave lint, because it will show in your final project. Absolutely 100%. And once it's been baked, you are not getting that back out. Okay, get the cut made. Just move this out of my way. The most tedious weapon to have to make? I wouldn't say that. I would not say that. This is nowhere near as tedious as a friggin' paintbrush was. Oh, but I was excited to do this one. I had an idea for it, and I was so excited to go through. So I don't know if you saw the score, but this entire staff is made out of clay. This is not the original plastic staff. I had to make that whole thing brand new, which is why I had fun with the swirling to the shape of all this paint. Originally, it was actually floating, but it just would not cooperate in the oven. Oh well. So yeah, that was difficult because of the way I had to get it through her arm and her hand. Her hand completely closes around this. So that was very much a challenge with this. Thank you. Yeah, I'm pretty proud of this one. Alrighty, let's open up the back of, well, I don't need most of that. I'm just going to chop that off. Open up the scissors. Get a bit of a deeper cut in there. Yeah, it's not quite deep enough, so go through it again. Make it deeper. Try not to cut all the way through. I think I did at some point, but that's okay. It'll cover up nice and neat. And this time, make sure I don't have too long of a wire. Oh, need to straighten it out, though. Fix up its little kinks. I love wire work. I like making entire models out of wire alone. So that's another thing I enjoy. That tip is curling out, so I'm going to take my piece here, kind of curl it back Let that stay in. There we go. That's much better. That'll close right up. All right, thank you for coming in, Sondam. I'm probably going to go ahead and finish up this gross design for the scissors, but then leave the detailing off stream because that's going to be a lot more tedious and boring for people to watch. Thank you so much for dropping by. I'm glad to have been able to show a bit of the clay process finally to those who've never seen it before in person. Whoop. There we go. I totally sliced out of there, so angleless so you can see. Got that little flap up there. That's because I've got a little bit of a slice right there. That's okay though. Comes right down over itself and hides. That's the beauty of clay. It is. As annoying as it can be, it is forgiving. Take care, Sondam. Have a good one. All right, let's go ahead and pinch this. Bring it down. I will totally talk to myself whether you guys are listening or not. Fair warning. There we go. Go ahead and break this off and just kind of slide it off. And there we go. Second blade, mostly formed. Got the good base shape to it. That'll let me work on top and off of it. As I get better shaping, more to what I want, I'll add clay to it to create more dimension. But for now, this will let me gauge the full look. Bringing these two pieces together. And then you've got those nice, elegant scissors. Oh, you like it for your night shift? That's right. You told me that. Here, it's only 5 p.m. for me, but I'm way in Alaska. So for most people, it's either evening or night. I understand that. And you're in the UK, right? Okay, I'm gonna sandwich this handle. Throw that off. Hey, Death Score, how's the audio quality? I've got my microphone. I've tried it in a new position. I like the positioning that it's out of my way, but let me know how the sound quality is for you. That's something I'm experimenting with at this time. Put that aside. Yep, Alaska. France. Oh, I've got a friend here who's originally from France. She's got her own dog sled team at this point. She loves it here. Audio sounds perfect. That's awesome. I'm glad. I've got good audio. That can be a very important factor, I know. Ooh, that just did a wobble. That's all right. Good enough to get it started. Actually, you know what? No, that's too thin. I want more clay in this. I need better lighting, that's for sure. This light, it worked well for the hot dog himself, bright colors, but it is washing out this clay really, really badly, and that's kind of painful to look at. I could turn it off, but then the clay looks good. Everything else is pretty dark. Very natural lighting. Oh, it's Alaska. Like on TV. Don't trust the TV, please. Please don't trust the TV. Especially like that Trooper show. No. But yes, Alaska. Yeah. Truly 2 weeks ago, I had a moose out in my backyard under the window. My cat was growling at it very ferociously. Very intimidated moose as it munched away on the dried grass on the paths we'd shoveled. Here's a fun fact. Our school lets out only at 50 below 0 degrees Fahrenheit. That is our cutoff. We have not reached it yet this year, but we got pretty close. We've been like 48, but still went to school. Now, I say went to school as in the local school here that I am substituting at in the kindergarten class right now. But yeah, that is the standard, -50. And I just kind of lost in thought, and I was not paying attention to what I did. That is way too flat. Oh, boy. Let's get this thing to work this time. Okay. Down the sides. Right about there. Light rolling. I need a light roll. There we go. That's about right. Let's get you. There we go. We're going to take this and get you attached. There we go. You gotta go now too? All right. Oh, you're welcome. I'm so glad you've enjoyed that wild storm. You have a good night, Nick Knock. I pulled off. I'm going to end the stream here pretty soon. I'm going to get this last little bit of the handle done and kind of position it a bit on the figure. But after that, I think I'm going to be done. This is a good stopping place just to let you guys see the gross progress there. It shows off the clay work, how to put it together. The detailing, that's just a matter. You can't really teach that. You just got to do it and learn it. So I'm not too worried about showing that off. Thank you so much for stopping by. 10 degrees is the coldest you've ever experienced? That's like, you can put shorts out on that weather. At this time of year, people will. They are ready for spring, and the minute it is above 0 at all, they are ready. It was right at -2 this morning. I was stepping in my car. I was like, dang, it's nice and warm. Don't even have to bother putting a coat to start my car. That is truly what happens. Your body gets used to this extreme cold that where in the fall you go out at -2 and you're like, gosh darn, I'm going to have to start wearing snow pants and gloves. And then at this time of year, like, oh, cool, nice and warm. Yeah, it's very funny. You will really and truly, at 20 above Fahrenheit, see people in their short jogging shorts just running. Built differently, absolutely. It is a different life. Pull that up so it's going to come apart, but that's okay. Squash it together. That's pretty messy for now, but it is getting the base shape on. That's something to work off of. Come next time I want to work on this. I think I'm going to call that good for now. Here on the screen, you can easily see how that is going to shape up into a lovely pair of scissors. Can almost make it a functioning pair of scissors, but I'm not going to do that because if his arms don't move, no point in doing that. But yes, it'll work nicely. It's a very fat pair of scissors once you put them together, but visually it'll look good. All right, thank you all for stopping in. Thank you all who later come in curious on how this happens. This was a lot of fun. I think I'm going to call it. This has been about an hour and a half. I'd say that's a good length. Sorry to cut your entertainment short, Retro, but I'm sure you can find other stuff. Thank you again, as always, for joining me. Have a good one.